All right, everyone. So we ran a little bit over time, but it was a really deep insight of reactive. And I know that you have lots of questions, but Mary is going to address them on the chat because we went a little bit over time with this. So with no further ado, let me add Karina. So here it is. Karina, she's a senior technical manager at Application Service BU at Red Hat, another colleague of mine. She has a solid background of software development architecture, more than 10 years experience, loves on free time, she loves contributing to Java open source community, so that's why she is here. And without further ado, let me see, Karina, if you can see your screen over here. It is visible.
Hey, Guilherme, can you hear me well? Thank you
Yes,
for
yes, I
the
can.
great introduction.
Right. So her talk is going to be 5 tips on how to deliver software effectively by aligning code and business best practice. So Karina, the show is yours. I'm going to be offline for a second, but show's yours.
Thank you, Guilherme. And good to see you again. So, hi, everyone. It's with great pleasure that I am here with you today. Thanks for being here online in this great event that is like super exciting. And we are now going to talk about how you can best deliver software without forgetting actually the business rules that generated the need for that software. So let's understand a little bit more about that. But before that, let me just tell you who I am since we go on. So I am Karina Varela, and I work for Red Hat, especially on the business automation stack of products. And I am a coordinator of the biggest Java community in the world. So Java, and that's really nice. So let's start talking about this. I have more than 10 years of experience on coding and architecting applications, and I've seen a lot in customers. And what I usually see is that we have that traditional process on creating software where we keep on playing the Chinese whispers. I don't know if you ever heard of this game, but it happens when you actually someone tells you something and then you keep on passing on the information until you get to the last person, and the last person has to say what the first one actually told, and never goes well. We can never get the same message at the end, and that's what we've been practicing on our software development. So why do I say that? I say that because every time we start developing a software, we ask someone to gather the prerequisites, take some notes. Then these notes are going back to the person who asked for the prerequisites to get validated. Only then this will be sent to the developers or architects, we techies, in order to define the architecture of the application. Only when we get to deliver the software, the business person can actually see if we delivered what they asked. And if you have ever delivered a software, you will know how frequent it is to have software delivered differently from what was requested. So why? How can we shorten this communication in between the person who actually is requesting the software and those who are delivering? How can we fix this, right? So let's start from step number 1. What do we have when we do software creation? What do we think about? What does it include? So when we are creating software, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 major pillars. We have a culture and the method, and this may vary depending on the place you work at. So you may see places that work with Scrum, agile methods, or maybe they rather go with traditional cascade methods, going from, let's say, more hipster approach with like hashtag no projects. So that it really depends on the company you work at, okay? And there is no right or wrong. It's just different ways of doing it. Good? Just so you know, I'm looking at the chat. So if you have questions, feel free to send it. I'll try to talk with you while we speak, okay? Because we will have a live demo today. So yeah, that's how it's going to roll. Another thing, prerequisites. As I mentioned, it is really important to get the prerequisites of the software documented, because that's the most important thing, right? We create software to solve real-world problems. Although the architecture and technologies we select is really critical, the reason why this exists is the business problem. So we always have different approaches to document and have this transmitted among the team. Next, we do the architecting, design, and code of the application. And we know all the stuff that we care about, right? So we care about which language am I going to use? Am I going for monolith, for monolith or microservices architecture? How can I define my APIs? How can I do the integration from the different components in my application? How is the security going to work? Am I going to use a CI/CD pipeline to deliver this? And finally, when we actually have something to deliver, we finally get to test. After all this journey, we get to test. So it goes from through the Q&A process and gets to the hands of the customer, the stakeholder, the person who asked for the software. Good. So everything I explained here is just a really high overview on how software creation actually usually works. And when someone asks for a software, what do customer wants when they search for you, asking, like, when they look for you saying, I need a new software, can you do it for me? This is the perfect word for customers. They will say, okay, I want to pay just a little bit. I want you to do it really quickly, but I want everything done, okay? Everything makes part of the scope. That's the perfect word for customers. They want us to deliver all the features they want, all the features they need, with low cost and in less time. What do we techies really wanna do instead of caring about this stuff? We wanna do this stuff. So what you see here in this diagram is a set of trends of this year gathered by the InfoQ team. So they try to track the most adopted technologies across different organizations, and if they are getting more mature or if they are still on the before the chasm. That's how we call it. Once a technology crossed the chasm, that means that it's getting more mature and adopted by bigger companies that are usually more traditional, that need more safety. So what we can see here is that on the tech perspective, companies are starting to adopt microservices architecture. Actually, they're not starting. They are most of the companies are already adopting. As you can see, microservices is already on the late majority. Domain-driven design is already spread across the industry. If you don't know what domain-driven design is, look for it, because everyone is already using it. Next, event-driven architecture. You probably heard about this a lot today, right? So yeah, it's already crossed the chasm. We see reactive programming. We just saw a great talk right now about reactive programming. 50 minutes only about reactive programming. Then we see here on the early adopters some platforms, and this is what we are going to focus today. So there's the low code or no code platforms. There are the workflow and decision automation platforms. And let's understand why they're getting more adopted and spread across the industry. What value does it bring to our tech, to our architectures, and how does it fit in modern approaches that we've been taking considering the cloud environment? So I told you I was going to give you 5 tips. Let's start with number 1. We need to adopt an effective culture in order to deliver software effectively. And then you're going to say, are you talking about DevOps? Are you talking about DevOps? Are you talking about DevOps? Yeah, you are talking about DevOps, right? I'm not talking about DevOps. Am I saying that DevOps is not effective? No, not at all. It is the place where you should start with. But what is the missing point here in DevOps? Let's take a look at these images. We have here the 3 silos that we usually hear about when we are talking about DevOps. The silos are this wall of have this wall of confusion that separates our teams. We have the dev teams, the ops teams, and the business teams, where the business team is the people who holds the knowledge. They know what they know what the software needs to execute in order to bring value to the company. The dev team and ops are those who code and deliver the environment respectively. The first wall of confusion we are already used to breaking. We do it by bringing the dev and ops teams together. By doing that, the dev team is not throwing anymore their software over the wall of confusion to the ops team to deliver. They actually get friendly processes that can deliver software really quickly. Good? But notice our business team is still, they can't communicate with these techies. What is going on? Why can't these tech people understand what I am asking? Why is it so complicated to get my software like what I need in production? That is because the last wall of confusion. And let's break this wall of confusion by adopting an effective culture, the Biz DevOps. In the Biz DevOps, we actually bring the business teams closer to us. And what does that mean? Will they code? No. They will do what they know, what they are best on doing, and we are going to do what we are best on doing. We code really good. We implement architectures really good. They know what we need to implement, so they need to extract their knowledge and input it into something executable. What if we could transform business people knowledge? Yeah, they're happy now, right, Hedy? So what if they could extract their knowledge into something other than simple words in a document? Let's talk more about it. How can they do it? We start to talk about a really we are going to start talking about a concept coined by DDD from Eric Evans, which is the ubiquitous language usage across the teams during the development cycle. We need to stop saying no to bureaucracies on our development process. So we need to turn the software creation and changes, like change requests, into something simple. How can we do it? We need to allow people to deliver new software and changes on the software as soon as possible. They need it, they have it. They need it, they have it. Just kidding. So what happens is that with the usage of patterns like BPMN and CMMN, we can actually extract knowledge from people into diagrams, but this is not a simple image. When you use specs, you can actually have executable files. This is an XML that can be interpreted by an engine, in our case, a Java engine. And this can make so many nice things you can even imagine. So this is like a business person can look at this and can understand what it does. Basically, why? Because they are bye Conrad, have some nice sleep. Yeah, 24-hour event is not easy, right? So business people can actually understand these specs. They are really used to working with it, and we can use all of this in our favor. So what happens is that when we look at our code, we understand it. But when business people look at it, they cannot understand. They can only see the UI we code for them. When they look at this, they can see if what we are coding is right. They can look like, maybe the manager confirmation should come before the HR setup. So maybe I could switch this myself, right? Okay, this is a simple one, but we can start talking about more complex use cases. I've seen really big processes involving human tasks, and the good thing is that you can actually see what is going on at all the time. So you have a really good monitoring of what is going on, and this can be used like talking for a more techie perspective, microservices orchestration, maybe. And good. We've talked a little bit about business processes. Yeah, that's okay. You do not need to read the boxes right now. We will talk about this in a while. Okay, just have in mind that we can. Let me see if I can. No, I can't give Zoom here. No, I can't do Zoom here. But we'll take a look at it in a while. Okay. So then we start talking. When we are talking about business, we still have the business rules, because not everything is a process. We also have the business rules, right? Can you think about a business rule right now? Not doing anything is the easiest business rule in the world, right? Yeah, just kidding. But yeah, basically a business rule is an if-then expression where you can define a constraint that matters to business. So what is my tip? My tip regarding business rules. You need to start externalizing these business rules from your code so you can deliver it independently from your code. You can write business rules in a way that business people understand it, so they can look at it and validate even before you deploy it to stage in production. They can change the rule by themselves if by mistake you, instead of giving like 10% of discount over a product on Black Friday, you added an extra zero and said it's 100% discount. Maybe the business people saw that in production, they can change it themselves. How? If you use Ubiquitous language. This here is the DMN spec, decision model notation. With this spec, you can define business rules in a way that business people can understand. And this is really nice because you're going to use like decision tables, you're going to use diagrams to represent all the flows of the rule execution. And this works really well on this communication. Third tip, decouple your business logic. Like I said, if you are on Black Friday, you just hired a trainee, and your trainee got wrong the amount of discount you wanted to use. If you're using a monolith, how hard, how long do you take to deploy this monolith in production? Might be hard, huh? If you are using microservices, which microservice do you need to update in order to get that rule updated? How many microservices? Externalize this logic, reuse it. Let's make the best of architecture, of microservices architecture. Let's make the best use of it. And then you will turn to me and look, Karina, you're talking to me about BPM in 2020. Really? Decentralized thing, it's so like, This is also evolving along with all the other technologies. BPM itself and decision automation and process automation both are getting modernized in a way that you can decentralize and use these standards, adopt these standards in your microservices architecture. You can use Spring Boot, Wildfly, Tomcat, Quarkus. You can choose the best technology you are good with and adopt the best business practice for the whole team. I'm sorry, I'm reading here the chat. So, when we talk about BPM, remember that we are solving a business problem, right? So, we are providing process agility, flexibility, and we need a way for business people to describe what they need. I've shown you the specs. To execute what they need, this is where we come into with the engines that execute these specs and with the whole architecture around it. Business people need to look at the results and be able to improve their business process. That's how they get their company evolving and getting better than all their competitors. It's not about our event-driven architecture, you get it? It's about getting the organization like succeed, being better than others. And the business people, in order to do that, they need to see the data. So you need to collect data that matters for business people. And those are the KPIs, key performance indicators. I think you won't be able to see the letters in here, but these two graphics shows the number of CPU usage in some Kafka nodes, the time spent in garbage collector. Do you think this really matters to business people when you show them this? Look at my cool Grafana process, my cool Grafana instance, collecting all my CPU usage on my pods in my hybrid cloud. They're like, okay. But when you show them this, they will look at it and say like, so we had a total of 2,000 people rescued that I can send that to news. And our top responders were like this and this and that people, and their response time was like, okay, I see. This is data that matters. And I'm using Grafana. It's the same tool. It comes from the same place, but I'm showing what matters to business people. Get it? Finally, there is no silver bullet solution. I'm not here to talk about microservices. I'm not here to talk about reactive. I'm not here to talk about event-driven architecture. I'm here to talk about what you need to carry in order to make your business successful. Because that's the main reason why software exists. So let's go for a small demo. And this demo is actually pretty nice because you'll be able to interact with it. I hope it doesn't crash. So the demo is pretty cool because it considers a real event that occurred in 2017 when a hurricane hurricane named Harvey caused a massive flooding in the southeast Texas, USA. This storm left a number of residents stranded and they needed rescue. The emergency first responders were not able to help everyone. They were overwhelmed with the high volume of rescue calls. So a group of volunteers that had boats themselves and had a better situation to help others, they gathered together and started helping the people who needed help on their city. And they became known as the Cajun Navy. And they started operating in various forms since the Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Good. So this demonstration actually was created to solve a real problem. And what is it about? It is about boosting the community power, because we can just provide software to people to help them do their job. That's what we need to do. And then what we have responders, who are the people who has both and need to help the others. We have the incidents, who is actually someone who needs help. And we have the mission, that is when we finally get a responder to save someone in an incident and take them to a shelter. Before showing the architecture, let me show you how it looks like. So I'll give you a link, a short link in a while, so that you can follow with me. But for now, come along. So this is the screen you are going to see. And when this is using Keycloak integrated with all the other services that are on the back end, okay? I'll talk about the architecture in a while. So, yeah, thank you, Guilherme. So for now, just keep looking and I will give you some time to interact with the demo in a while, okay? So in this dashboard, if you want me to make my screen bigger, just let me know. Let me increase the font size. Okay, done. You can see that I have 210 people asking for help. There are 210 incidents. We only have 9 responders. No one is active. No one was rescued. No one was picked up and taken to the shelter. We have currently 3 shelters, which are these small white balls with a cross in the middle. Okay. We will have the responder, which is going to be you. You are going to help me save all these people. And once you get assigned to a mission, all these the incident is going to turn yellow. So that's mainly the screen that we will see when we start interacting with people. Notice that on the left panel, you will find a mission tab. And in this mission, you will be able to put yourself available. Once you put yourself available, you will be an event is going to be emitted to a Kafka topic, and services will be able to know that they can assign you to a mission. So if you want to, you can grab the link that Guilherme shared on the chat. Thanks, Guilherme, for that. Grab that link, open a browser. You can register. You don't need to use your real name, and be aware that this is not going to be used for any purpose, just for demo purposes. Register, and when you are registering, you will see that you have I'm sorry. You have the possibility to register now. You will need to insert your first name, last name, not necessarily your real name. And you will say that in this true field, this means that can you help people that needs medical assistance? Because we have some incidents that actually needs medical assistance. So if you can't, just set it as false. Okay. And then you will be able to see the same screen that I'm seeing here with the mission tab. Once you log in, you are going to set a spot in the map. This is where you are now, okay? This is where you are with your boat. When I click on the map, I see that a blue boat shows up. And now I'm going to set myself available. Okay, I was assigned to a mission. The yellow route means what route I need to go in order to pick up the person and then take her or him to the shelter. Once my boat gets there, and of course this is simulated, but if this was being used in a real use case, we would get this from the GPS to see where the boat actually is. And it gets updated every 10 seconds. Your boat will get updated every 10 seconds. Once I get to the yellow sign, I can mark this as a picked up. I can emit a picked up event. And all the services that are on my architecture that needs to take an action once the person gets picked up, will listen to this event and take action. So, picked up, I'm going to click here, and my boat started taking the person to the shelter. Okay? Now let me take a look. Let me show you something really interesting. When I click here on the yellow sign, I see that I have a process diagram. And I've been talking about all this time about people, about business. Let's take a look. I actually am orchestrating my microservices using BPM and diagram. How hard would it be for me to explain you what is happening on my application if I showed you this this diagram? Okay, so how hard would it be for me to describe what happens at each point of this process just by drawing lines in between all these boxes? Like, okay, I have a Vertex service that is the mission service. I have a Spring Boot service that actually is the process service, and then it invokes the incident service. Oh my God, this is madness. Like, how can you explain this to the governor who's going to adopt this solution to save people from a disaster going on his city? You cannot, right? So once you come here, and you actually tell him like, okay, this is how the process works. We will get the available shelters, and now you have 3. Then we will find out the active. Let me increase the font size a little bit more. We will get the active responders, and we will prioritize the incidents because we can prioritize the zones where we want the incidents to be solved first. Then I will assign the mission according to its priority and the available responders. Then you showed the app, right, Carlos? Then you can see here that I'm using BPM and notation to represent what is going to happen. So this means that I'm going to emit a signal, to receive a signal. And it is great because in this case, it was already executed. So what is actually going on underneath? It's talking to Kafka topics. This symbol right here represents that it's talking to Kafka topics. Once it all happens and I can actually create the mission, I start a sub-process that has all the tasks and talks with all the Kafka topics in order to actually help save people. So once my victim gets delivered to the shelter, this process will will get noticed, and let me refresh the page that describes my mission to see what happened. Awesome, my mission was not aborted. The person got dropped off and my process is finished. I just showed you live. And if I come back here to my incident, to my dashboard, because I am the incident commander, let me see here. I see that we started rescuing people and we already rescued like 8 people. So once you rescue someone, you need to keep on getting active again. So if you want to just keep on playing with it, I will add some more bots to help us save people while we are here. So I have another microservices that can actually trigger some bots to help us. I will add, like, I think 10 more responders to help us save these people who needs help. Good. So now we have a total of 34 responders, where 16 are active. Good, good, good. So what is going on here? This is the pretty part. We need to track what is going on. Yes, Steven, it happens. It happens. I don't know when you use it, but we can talk about it later. Let's talk when the talk finishes. I'll ping you so we can talk more about it. So I have here all my services connected to Grafana and Prometheus in order to gather the metrics. So I can, for example, gather metrics regarding my processes. So I had more than 2,000 processes because I started testing the demo before. I can see how many active processes I have, how many processes were completed. And like I said, this does not matter to business people, right? So I have here the income on Kafka topics, how many Kafka messages has been emitted and stuff like that. But when we come here to the Mission Commander KPI, I can actually show the real KPIs that matters to business people that are like, okay, we already rescued almost 3,000 people. And these are the top responders. Caleb already saved like 48 people. And this is what matters. Okay? Good. What do we have here? The BPM is deployed is just a file that is included in a Spring Boot service. It's actually packaged as a jar and included in a Spring Boot service that is the engine. This engine can interact with all the other services. So we have in this demo, I have Keycloak that is implemented as Red Hat single sign-on. I have the front end implemented with Vertex and being updated in live real time by using WebSockets. On the backend services, I have one service for each need. So I have a service for incident, one for responder, one for the mission. And it is stored in both relational databases and using the cache from Infinispan, Red Hat Data Grid. And all the messaging, the event communication happens through the AMQ streams, which is known as Kafka. So what are the key takeaways from this talk? You need to remember, stop increasing the bureaucracy on your software development. You don't need to have bureaucracies. You can actually use the type of assets where business people can get closer to the development and architecture team in order to implement, to put their knowledge uh, into source code. And you can use this source code into well-known standards like BPMN, like Maven projects. You can package it as a jar file. You can deploy it using a traditional CI/CD pipeline using our DevOps culture. Okay, so it all works as the same way as your traditional code works. It's just one more capability you are adding to your architecture. You are using a ubiquitous language to bring people together, to get everyone to understand how you are implementing the software, and if you are going to deliver what they actually need, right? So these are the key takeaways. And I wonder if you have any questions. So I might have ended a little bit earlier, Guy.
No, you're fine. You're good. You're fine. So we have
Can
some
you add me to the
questions.
screen again
Yeah,
so
you
people
are. You're
see?
there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're there. Maybe if you wanted to do like this.
Thank you, Guy.
Okay, so let me see what we have here. We have some questions about BPMN and in general. Like, can you give an example of the project where the BPMN is welcome to use and the project where BPMN schemas complicate things?
Yes, I can. So you should think about using BPMN. So we have two. You need to think of processes in a spectrum where you have business processes that goes from a more predefined way to a more flexible process. So when you go to a hospital and you keep on switching from specialty to specialty, so you go from the nursery to take an X-ray, that is not a process that you can define before the patient gets there, right? But this is still a business process. This is called a flexible process, and it can be implemented, for example, with BPMN. Then there's people who mix up the usage of BPMN with integration solutions like Camel, where you should be using BPMN, like BPM solutions, business automation solutions, to automate, to work with business logic, and mostly when you have wait states. So you have, for example, long-running processes like this that I showed you. You are interacting with someone, and this is a long-running process. You can't have like a thread running until you finish this, right? So this is one example, one of the most used examples of the BPMN, of the BPM practice overall. The BPMN, have in mind that the BPMN is just a way where you can implement this, but you have many different ways to deliver workflow automation.
Right. So I have other two questions I'm going to group together. So one is, which tool is the best for process modeling? And there is one that is going to be, what is the techniques and methodologies that you think that are most productive to combine delivering software effectively? I mean,
Perfect.
I think the question is towards BPMN or BPM in general.
Thank you, Guy. So about process modeling, that's the greatest part of using a standard. So if you are using a tool that supports BPMN2 and you want to deploy it in an engine that can execute BPMN2, you can use whichever tool you want. That's basically the answer. I would suggest you to try using the jBPM project. It is an open source, 100% Java-based project that is mature and used across many different organizations in production to solve problems like for banking, for healthcare, for telco. So there are many different use cases where you can use it. And if you want to try something more cloud native or more cloud oriented, that was born to the cloud, you should take a look at the Cogito project. It is still upstream, and it has, for example, if you open your browser and you go to the bpmn.new domain URL, I'm pasting here on the chat here. If you go to the bpmn.new or dmn.new, you will see that you will access serverless modeling platform that is there for you to use whenever. This is part of the Cogito project, for example. So the group that is working with Red Hat has a huge initiative for business automation evolution on the Java world, especially on the cloud front. And regarding the second question, what techniques and methodologies do you think are the most productive to combine for delivering software effectively? So I would say that to deliver software effectively, you need to first be able to code and architect it well. So I would suggest you to take a look at the clean architecture and clean code book. Then you should be able to separate well the concerns of the software. That's where DDD comes in. Then you need to code well, and you need ways to deliver this software quickly. And there is where you get the continuous delivery and integration into your set of tools, where you start gathering the teams together in order to deliver the software more effectively. And finally, in order to break the last wall of confusion in between the biz people and us, you can use these standards in order as capabilities in your software. So that's how it would flow. It's a traditional software development like we know the best, but adding capabilities to it. That's what would be the most effective way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah. One last question from Otavio. He asked if does it make sense to use BPMN on small companies such as in a startup?
Yes, if they have long-running processes that they need to take care of. So you may have a startup process that is trying to address a COVID-19 situation in a hospital, and they want to automate decisions. They want to automate flows to guide this person more quickly in the hospital. This may come from a startup. So this is just one more tool in your toolbox to use when you have the need. Like I said, there's no silver bullet, but it's something that can be used across independently of the size of the organization. Public sector, private sector, startup, big organization. It's there for everyone.
Right. And also, just one final question that I found interesting here, that the Minda was as if you can have the same rescue application implemented with a lighter stack.
Yes. So let me come back here. Slide. Can you put the slide there, please, Guy?
Yeah, sure. Sure. Let me
just a second.
Here we go.
Yes, like this. Thank you, Guy. So the emergency response demo is let me share the link with you. So the emergency response demo can be deployed there if you want, and it was delivered using all these capabilities in order to show that we can use best practices on coding, architecting, and communicating within a real mature stack. So we have in this ER demo, for example, we have all the capabilities on the architecture. We have our code. So you will be able to see on the website that Guy shared the link to the repositories where you have all the project's code. We have the process automation and decision management capabilities with BPMN. in order to orchestrate all the processes. We have the integration capabilities with Kafka for the event-driven architecture. We have the runtimes capabilities where we have, I think this is running on Spring Boot, and there are some of the services that are already running on Quarkus too. And containerization capabilities deployed on top of OpenShift. On top of all that, we have the observability with Prometheus and Grafana. So it's making the full set complete. I could do this in a monolith. Yeah, I could, but I wouldn't be able to show you how it's being adopted on more, let's say, on companies that are ready to move to this cloud native and microservices oriented architecture.
All right, so let me see if there is anything else that needs to be addressed here. Oh, there is one that what is the advice that you can give someone that is from business background becoming a dev guy? And my take on it, it's like if you have the BPMN on your place, it's much. I mean, the making the transition to become the business to development should be a little bit more. I mean, the transition should be less painful, I would say, right? So I think if you start with that, that's where so. So Karina shared Twitter. Go on.
Can I just add something to this question? So just one more thing, you are right, and I also think that there is a different space for companies that adopt BPM practices widely on the organization. So companies that are on this stage of really adopting this on their stack, they have a role called the person who implements the business automation. So if you are someone from the business side that wants to start coding, the best place for you to start is grabbing all your knowledge on how you can improve the business and making this diagram executable. Because when you go to tools like Visio, you will just get drawings. You cannot necessarily configure everything you need, all the variables, all the script parts that you need in order to get it automated, in order to actually invoke a REST service when you need some microservice orchestration in the middle of your process. So that would be a good place for people from the business to start. Trying to automate business process is a place to start, for example, because it's not just about drawing. Believe me.
Right. That's certainly right. All right. So thank you, Karina. It was the awesome demo about the BPMN. It was really, really good. I learned a lot about BPMN and the emergency response demo. So thank you so much.
We should have a nice day. Take care of yourself. And thank you for watching. I wish you all stay safe. And let's keep here until the end, 24-hour event. Yoo-hoo! Let's go for it. Bye, Gui. Thank you.
Bye. 24 hours event. That's the